strive and make up significant success, particularly right here in USANA. So I want to deliver on that promise. And here's what it is that I'm going to do. I'm going to show you a direct line of sight of how you can make more money right here in USANA. To do that, there are a few essential things that have to happen. The first thing is you need to build a large organization. You build a large organization of representatives that are distributing these wonderful products all over the globe. You will make a lot of money, you will fund your dreams, and make things possible for future generations of your family. The second thing that needs to happen in order to build a large organization is you have to learn how to be a leader. Particularly a leader in the 21st century, because leadership in the 21st century is very different than it was in the 20th century, as I will point out. Now, the third most important ingredient for you to have a direct line of sight to earning more money, fulfilling all your dreams and ambitions for life, is what I call the X factor. That one thing that will determine how you can accomplish anything that you set your mind towards, particularly your ability to be a powerful, influential leader that builds a large organization right here in USANA that ends up earning you lots of money and fulfilling your hopes, dreams, and ambitions for life. So that's what I'm going to cover with you. I call it the USANA success equation. 1 + 1 + 1 equals all the dreams, hopes, and ambitions that you've got for yourself. So the first thing we're going to cover is kind of the control factor to all of that mathematical equation. In order for you to build a large organization, you have to become a 21st century leader. So that's the first subtopic we're going to talk about in the USANA success equation. Now, this does not come from just ideas that I dreamed up while laying horizontal on my bed or because I read some other books and so forth. You could say that today, standing before you all the way over here in Hong Kong, China, is not just Darren Hardy, publisher of Success, but also on the stage is Richard Branson and Steve Jobs and Warren Buffett and Oprah Winfrey and the CEO of Starbucks, Howard Schultz, Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon. They're all here on stage because the leadership principles that I'm going to give you are derived from all those leaders, then packed into a tightly developed curriculum so that I can then pass it on to you. Most importantly, how it specifically is applicable to building your USANA business. Now, the thing to understand about the challenge of leadership in the 21st century, unlike any other time in human history, is that change and progress is speeding up to epic proportions. As leaders, we've never been challenged with the things that we're faced with today in the 21st century. So let me just outline a few of those dynamic changes that are confronting leaders, because then you'll understand how the world is very different today, and you need to become very different today than of all the leadership books and lessons and observations you've made about leaders of the past. So here's how fast change is progressing. This guy here is Ray Kurzweil. He wrote the essay called The Law of Accelerating Returns, which is, he explains how in about the 1980s, we went from growing as a society linear to exponential. How technology has created the speed of growth and progress to be at an exponential rate versus linear. So what he says is that in the 21st century, which you know consists of 100 years, he said we won't experience 100 years of linear progress. In the 21st century, it will be as if we will experience 20,000 years of progress. Now here we are in 2014, okay, AD, recorded history. In the next 100 years, we'll experience 10 times that progress than we have experienced the last 2014. Now, to give this some more context, let me explain it like this. Let me just show how exponential growth works by comparison to linear growth. If you take 30 steps linear, you go from 1 to 2 to 3, and at 30, you end up at 30. That's linear growth. That's what happened in the 1700s, the 1800s, the 1900s, and the 20th century. linear progressive growth. That's how we got here today. However, in the 21st century, we'll experience exponential growth. And what that looks like is step 1, 2, 4, 8, and then at 30, guess what number you're at? 1 billion. That's the difference between linear growth and exponential. Okay, if that doesn't even make sense, let me just give you a little short lesson on what we've experienced the last 50 years. 50 years ago, this is what a computer system looked like. In the United States, this is during the Kennedy administration. It filled a room as big as this, one single computer. Today, many of you have in your pocket a computer that has 1,000 times more computation power than that entire computer system. 50 years ago, that computer cost $60 million. Today, the computer you can put concealed in your pocket costs 1,000,000 times less and is obviously 1,000,000 times smaller. That's how much progress has changed just the last 50 years. Today, a child with a disposable cell phone in sub-Saharan Africa has more global communication reach than any president had at the time in the 1980s through their Pentagons. That just shows you, just in the last 30 years, how much we've progressed. Now this is Eric Schmidt. When he was the CEO of Google, he said, look, if you took all of human knowledge, everything we've ever created as a human species up to 2003, and you put it in a big pile, we are recreating that volume of information and knowledge, guess how often? Every single day. Every day today, we are doubling all human information and knowledge as we did since the beginning of time up to 2003. So you can see as a leader, the ability to get your head around what's happening out in the marketplace around the world is mind-boggling. Another conundrum is that we are now a global competitive society. If somebody would have told me 20 years ago that I'd be standing in Hong Kong, China, teaching entrepreneurship to expand the entrepreneurial reach of what we are doing as a global society, I would never have thought it possible. But here we are. And in some places globally, the competition has created an enormous opportunity, but it also has created enormous competition. For a leader who needs to build an organization, who had enough troubles building an organization in their hometown or their home country, now has to learn how to manage, develop, and build an organization that has global reach. You can see how these are different times. On top of that, just the sheer volume of people. I mean, this is an interesting statistic. Take a look at this. If we took all the human population at 1100 AD, the number of years it took to double the planet's population was 514 years. Then at that point, the number of years it took to double the human population was 166. And then at that point, 79 years. Since I was birthed onto this planet myself, the number of people who populate this planet has once again doubled. We are seeing how exponentially the challenge of leadership is growing in epic proportions. So here's what this looks like. If this was your skill development in the 20th century, if you grew your personal skills, your personal leadership ability at that growth trajectory, you would end up at the top of the corporation or number one in your marketplace. But what's happened is technology and progress has scaled like this. And you can see it's left most people's skills well behind, starting in about 2005. You can see where it's at in 2010. By 2015, most people will not be able to compete in this globally fierce competitive marketplace. So what I'm here to do today in a very short period of time is to take your normal growth skill trajectory and scale it up to match the growth trajectory of technology and progress that's taking place around the world. So let's talk about your leadership, what it takes to be a leader in the 21st century. So let me give you some context here. The first thing to understand is this is not your daddy's leadership. Whatever it is that you witnessed as you grew up of what a leader was, you saw a leader in the 20th century. And those models of what it is to be a leader in the 20th century do not work in the 21st century. And you are going to have to change everything that you know about leadership. Everything that you saw, that you are repeating those patterns of leadership, is wrong. And you have to change how you go about leading people starting today. Let me explain. In the 20th century, leadership looked like this. This actually is taken out of a university textbook that describes what an organization is today. Okay? Which is not what an organization needs to be competitive in the 21st century. They explain, an organization is an economic entity. You have to develop structures, set controls, leverage capital through pyramids of hierarchies, performing rigidly narrow tasks with clear guidelines. That's the definition of a 20th century organization. The number one competency, what you went to school to learn, what they drilled you on, was understanding economics. Because economic competency meant that you could lead the organization. That was in the 20th century. Today, the most important competency to effectively lead an organization is emotional intelligence. By comparison, those that controlled the money controlled the organization and controlled the marketplace. That's the way leadership played the game in the 20th century. Control the money, control the market. That was the main asset of competition. It is no longer about financial capital as the main asset for the 21st century. It is now human capital. The competitive difference between organizations won't be money, it will be people. It was once considered to lead, manage, and grow an organization. It was all about control, and you used fear and incentives to try to control the organization's ability to perform. It is no longer about control. Now it is about collaboration. We are seeing now that the major marketplace is made up of not just men in the Western world. We're seeing that women are taking a more dominant role, and we are also seeing minorities becoming the majority. And if you don't learn how to use collaboration, how to use emotional intelligence, you will not be a leader in the 21st century. It was once about hierarchies. Who reports to who? And you have these pyramids of hierarchies. It is no longer about hierarchies in an organization. It is now about networks. You are going to lead, build, grow, capitulate through networks. You no longer align people and their motivations and their reporting and their accountability through structures and spreadsheets. Now it is driven through connecting meaning and purpose to what every person's role is to the goals of the organization. It is no longer technical or financial expertise. It is social and relational aptitude. This is the reason why a lot of the millennial generation, some people that spoke on the panel yesterday that talked about the competency of social media and the ability to collaborate and build through networks. The reason why the millennial generation will take all the leadership positions by 2020, as it is estimated. And it is no longer about developing followers. In the 20th century, leaders went about cultivating followers. If you want to be a leader in the 21st century, you won't be out cultivating followers. You will have to go out and cultivate leaders. This economy, this marketplace is changing too fast. People can't follow. They have to learn how to lead on their own. And then collectively, through networks, you can do extraordinary things. So your competitive advantage comes down to one imperative. Can you grow and develop leaders faster than your competition? Will USANA become the #1 company in direct sales? Yes. Only if they develop leaders faster than any other direct selling organization. Will you have the largest organization inside of USANA? Yes. Only if you develop leaders faster than any other organization inside of USANA. That's what it comes down to. Who can develop leaders the fastest? So, let me teach you how to develop leaders. First thing we need to do is we need to uproot what you knew about leadership. We need to give you a mind shift to take you from the models of leadership that you learned in the 20th century and point you to how to be a leader in the 21st. Here's what a leader is not in the 21st century. A leader is not a boss or a manager. Many of the people that got involved in USANA got involved because they did not want to have a boss or a manager. The last thing you should ever do as a leader in USANA is act like somebody's boss or manager. See, here's what happens. A boss and a manager tells you what to do, and everybody hates a boss. The fastest way to drive people out of your organization is to act like a 20th century leader and start pretending to be somebody's boss or manager. A leader, on the other hand, models the behavior to be done. They don't tell you what to do. They do the thing they want everybody to do and simply ask people to follow. They model the behavior to be done. This is the most important slide. All you have cameras, take a picture of that slide. This whole presentation comes down to this slide right here. A leader leads by example. It is the most basic principle of leadership, yet it is the most violated. It is the one thing we do not see from leaders that try to go on and become a leader and end up failing. They don't lead by example. So let me give you a for instance, okay? I know this mother. She's the most amazing mother you've ever seen. I mean, she loves her children more than any other human being can possibly love another human being. She has 7 children. And every time she sees her children, to this day, some of them are 50 and 40 and 30 years old, when they walk through her front door, she runs up screaming, grabs them by the cheeks and goes, "Oh, you're so gorgeous, you're so gorgeous." She has done that their entire lives. They've only heard how gorgeous they are. If they ever ask their mother, "Mom, do you think I could do this?" "Oh, you could do anything, honey. You're so great. You're so capable. You could do anything." Yet each of her 7 children suffer from great self-esteem issues. They all think they're ugly, and they all think that they're not capable of doing great things. How is that possible? How can people so encouraged have so little self-esteem? Here's why. Every time their mother saw a picture of herself, she would go, "Oh, I'm so ugly, I'm so ugly." Every time she passed by a mirror, even while she's walking through the mall, she sees the mirror and she goes, "Ah, I'm so ugly, I'm so ugly." Their children saw this, and they thought, unconsciously probably, if she thinks she's ugly, and I look like her, I must be ugly too. When a friend of hers would say, "Momita, why don't you go and come with me and do this thing, or why don't you come on this trip with me, or why don't you come and take this class with me?" she would say, "Oh, I could never do that. I could never do that. I could never do that." Her children saw that. And if they said, "Wow, if Mom, who I think is godlike, she's my idol, she's the most powerful person I know, if she doesn't think she could do that, I could never do that myself." You see, they didn't listen to her, they watched her. And they felt about themselves exactly as she demonstrated herself to them. See, the same thing happens in leadership. Your people don't listen to you. You can call them on the phone. You can rah-rah. You can tell them all the things that they could do or should do, but they don't listen to you. They watch you. You see, as children, we learn early on to stop listening to our parents, stop listening to authorities, so that we can claim our own identity. So we purposely stop listening. Have you noticed that, parents? How your kids stop listening to you? But here's the one thing they've not stopped doing. They haven't stopped watching. Because that's unconscious. They are watching you to pick up clues about how to feel about themselves, how to feel about the world, how to feel about their own capability. See, as a species, we're over 200,000 years old. So we are mostly an ancient brain-oriented society. And a child back in the cave days, when a child was born, if it was born into a tribe, and the tribe didn't accept it, it was left out to die. And so we developed these things called mirror neurons, so that as soon as we're born, we're starting to mirror and match the authorities around us, so that we become accepted, so that we'll be taken care of. We still have those mirror neurons, and we are mirroring and matching people all the time. Have you ever been trying to take a photo of somebody, you're taking a photo and they're smiling, and then all of a sudden you're like, the person taking the photo is smiling too. Why? They can't help it. They're mirroring it. See, what's interesting is I get to travel around speaking to all these different organizations all over the world. And depending upon how the leaders, I can tell you what the whole organization looks like spending 10 minutes with the leaders. I can tell you how they will dress. I can tell you their attitude. I can tell you their perspective, because the whole organization will end up being a mirror of that organization, of those leaders. It's funny, some of these organizations, the leaders are like, they're three young guys and they're wearing ripped jeans and, you know, the same kind of shoes and t-shirts, and they wear dog tags and then a suit jacket. Guess what? I walk into their meeting like this, the whole audience is dressed just like that. And these are people who, when they joined the organization, probably did not dress like that. But over time, unconsciously, they started mirroring and matching who they saw was the authority. I go to other organizations where the leaders always dress in suits and ties, like this organization. And guess what? Look at you. All dressed nice. All dressed up because you modeled and matched the authorities. You also have the same sort of mindset. You have the same sort of orientation on life. And that has been molded by modeling the leader. So here's what I'm telling you. Every one of you in the chairs. You are always on stage. Every one of you right now is on stage. And your people aren't listening to you. They're watching you. And you are setting the example. Here's what I love. Dennis Waitley, front row. Does Dennis need to learn anything more about success or leadership? Probably not. But here he is on the front row. Dude, one of the leaders in your organization. She's in the front row. Why? Setting the example. Dr. Wentz was in the front row all morning long. Everybody behind him was watching. Well, if he's watching intently, then it must be worth watching. You as well are always on stage. If you want to change the behavior of your organization, the only thing you have to do is to change your own behavior. And unconsciously, your entire organization will start to model and match your leadership. Simple as that. As Winston Churchill said, I no longer listen to what people say, I just watch what they do. You see, behavior never lies. Don't listen, watch. A boss and a manager say, you go, you make more calls, you do some prospecting, you bring people to meetings. A leader says, let's go. And is the one who always has the most new people at the meeting, the most new people at the conference, and the most new people on the teleconferences. Leaders do what's scary or what's uncomfortable. If you're going to be a leader, you have to be scared most of the time. You got to get out in front where the territory has not been cut, and you have to cut the new territory. That's why they put you out front. You're the leader. A leader sets the pace. Here's another big key, and it's this next slide. You ready? People do not go as fast as they can. Your people do not go as fast as they can. They do not work as hard as they can. They're not as disciplined as they can be. They're not as consistent as they can be. They're not as focused as they can be. They don't go as fast as they can. How fast do they go? They go as fast as the leader. That's it. Do you guys remember seeing the Summer Olympics? The guy from Jamaica, Usain Bolt, who set all the records? Well, the one part of the story that wasn't recorded is the guy that came in number 2 and number 3 also set the previous world record. And when they interviewed him, they said, how did you guys run this fast? You've never run this fast ever in your whole life. How did you run this fast in this race? They said, we were just trying to catch Usain. You see, when the leader speeds up, everybody speeds up to try to catch him. If you want your organization to go faster, work harder, be more disciplined, be more positive, prospect more, bring more new guests to the meeting, the only thing you have to do is do it yourself. And let them watch. You don't need to say a word, right? And then once you do, realize that a boss and a manager, they help people see themselves as they are. Let's have a review. Where are your strengths? Where do you need to improve? That's a boss and a manager. A leader, however, helps people see themselves better than they are. It is the responsibility of leadership to draw out the potential of others around them. As my good friend and Dennis's good friend Brian Tracy says, leadership is the ability to get extraordinary achievement from ordinary people. You see, you're going to recruit a lot of very ordinary people into USANA. It is up to you as the leader to draw out their potential to make them extraordinary. Hey, most of you, for crying out loud, that are very successful, started out very ordinary. And then a leader helped draw the potential out of you so that you could become extraordinary. Now it's your turn to pass it on to somebody else. It's easy to be a boss and a manager. You can go and learn that in school. They're still teaching you how to be a boss and a manager at school. But it takes real skill and real character to be a leader. And you can't learn it in school. Which is why USANA flew me all the way over here to try to pass it on to you. Okay? Your personal leadership ability is your number one constraint. The thing that's holding you back from being able to realize your potential in the 21st century. All right, so let me handle some of your objections. I want to be a leader, but nobody will follow me. That's a problem. Let's fix it. And that's where the X factor comes in. If we're going to give you the ability to become a powerful, persuasive, influential leader, it's all going to come down to the X factor. Let's talk about what the X factor is. This is also how to recruit anybody you want and then get them to do anything you want. How would you like the ability to recruit anybody you want and then get them to do anything that you want? It all comes down to answering two questions. You answer these two questions and you can do just as I promised. First one is this. What attributes do you want? If you were to think about the attributes that you want to recruit into USANA, what are those attributes? So look, just give me some attributes. If you were to say, if you were to design the perfect USANA representative, take the example of some of the great leaders in society and give me one word that would describe them. What would be some of the attributes that you want? Give me some attributes. Positive, confident, charismatic, proactive, integrity, passionate, energetic, committed. Okay. So here's what I want you to do. There's a little homework assignment. This isn't just, I'm not just waving a wand and all of a sudden you're great leaders. You have to do some work. Okay? Here's the first work assignment that I give you. I want you to make a long list of the most important attributes to you. Come up with at least 20 to 30. 20 to 30 attributes. Put them on a piece of paper. Okay? Then I want you to boil it down to the top 12 that are most important to you. Because see, if you don't know what you want, you won't know how to find it. And most importantly, you won't know when you don't have it. So it's important that you get really clear about what it is that you want. Now the interesting thing is, your list of 12 will be different than my list of 12. My list of 12 will be different than Dennis's list of 12, which is different than Dr. Wentz's list of 12. What's important is to know, what are your 12? So that you know exactly what to look for when you're out there recruiting people for USANA. And then the second most important question is, do you have and demonstrate those attributes at a level 10? Are you positive? Do you have integrity? Are you driven? Are you energetic? Are you committed? Are you loyal? To a level 10 on each one of those attributes. So what I want you to do in this previous slide is I want you to take those 12 attributes and then I want you to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 of where you are on those 12 attributes. Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, committed, I'm like a 7. On a scale of 1 to 10, energetic, okay, I'm like an 8. On a scale of 1 to 10, on disciplined, okay, I'm like a 5. Be honest. And if you don't know the answer, ask your spouse. They'll give you the truth, right? Here's what you want to do. You want to find out exactly where you're at. Because that will be the reason why you're having trouble recruiting some people in your organization. You either attract people who have the qualities that you already possess, or people who have those qualities will be repelled from you. The number one key to increasing your ability to attract high-quality people is to become a person of high quality. I think Jim Rohn says it here as well. I'll give you another way to look at this, a key question. Out of all the people, let's say that you could leave USANA and rejoin, and you could pick anybody in this room to be your sponsor. Anybody. And let's say, you didn't really know everybody's titles and so forth, but you could pick anybody in this room. Who would you pick to be your sponsor if you could pick anybody? If the answer is not yourself, that's the same answer everybody else is coming up with when they are given the choice to be sponsored by you. Here's another way to look at it. Let's say I'm going to join USANA. I'm a prospect. I'm not for real, by the way, and I can't join USANA, just FYI. But let's just say I could. And the only thing that I knew about anybody in the room is what I've observed the last 2 days. How you walked into the room. How you dress and present yourself. How you introduce yourself to others. The encouragement that I've heard you give others. The example that you've set. If I had a chance to pick anybody in this room to be my sponsor in USANA, would I pick you? And if the answer in your own head is, well, you'd probably pick her, or you'd pick him, then that is exactly the reason why people are not picking you to come into this business. Does that make sense? I hate to be that blunt. That's exactly what's happening. People are faced with a choice. They're looking at you going, do I want whatever that person has? And if the answer is in their mind no, then that's what they're saying no to. They're not saying no to USANA. They're not saying no to nutrition. They're not saying no to greater dreams, hopes, and financial abundance. They're not saying no to that. They're saying no, they don't want to be in business with you. So if you want to change that situation, that's where this X factor comes in. As Jim Rohn said, if you want to be a leader who attracts quality people, the key to become is a quality person. So here's what happens. This is the X factor. You walk into a room, the world around you revolves. You see, the world does revolve around you. As I look here, standing at this point, you know, it does look like the world revolves around me. And the reality is, the world revolves around all of us. And every room you enter, you change the room. And the room starts reacting to you. Based on how you show up, what you say, what you do, the room starts reacting to you. You're a lightning rod. For every room you enter, every conversation you have, you're changing the room, and the room is reacting to you. The outside experience is an outcome of your inner cause. You are the change agent, the cause of change in every environment that you enter. So what happens here is, every one of us has a personal development set point. It's like a thermostat in a room. If you put a thermostat on 70 degrees, do we work off the same degree system here? We do? No? What's a good normal room degree here? 22. If you set the room at 22 degrees, and all of a sudden it gets really hot outside, what happens? The thermostat kicks on the air conditioner and brings the temperature back down to 22. Now, what happens if it gets really cold outside? The thermostat kicks on the heater and brings the temperature back up to 22. So inside the room, it always stays at 22 degrees. Well, you have a personal development set point, and it is locked in at a particular level. And no matter what happens on the outside, your level will remain the same. Your income level, your health level, your relationship level will remain right at that set point, no matter what happens on the outside. Let me give you a for instance. Let's say that this is your set point right here. And then all of a sudden, you run into a bunch of money. You inherit money, or all of a sudden your business takes off and you make a bunch of money. Have you ever met somebody where they make a lot of money and then they lose a lot of money? They make a lot of money and they lose a lot of money? So, I don't know if y'all have this out here. Do you have lotteries? Okay. So, in the United States, this is how it works out. A person who makes $30,000 a year all of a sudden wins $20 million. And in 3 to 5 years, what's usually the case? They lost it all. They're broke. How can somebody who earns $30,000 get $20 million and then go broke? You see, what happened is the money went way above their set point, and unconsciously they did everything they possibly could to get rid of it so that it came right back down to their set point. Seriously, that's what happens.
True.
So, for instance, if I took somebody right now in this room that makes a small amount of money, and I gave them a bunch of money, likely, over time, their net worth would go right back down to where it was. For instance, let's say I took Dennis Whaley, this rich, wealthy guy, Dennis Whaley, and I could wave a magic wand and I could take all his money away. Over the next 10 years, what's likely to happen? He'll get it all back. Because it was out of configuration with his set point. It went below his set point. And everything will happen until it comes back to his set point. I'll give you another example. Let's take your health. All of a sudden somebody goes on a diet, they lose all this weight. Now they've lost all this weight. Weight usually happens 6 to 9 months after somebody loses a lot of weight. They gain it all back. How? Because it was well below their set point. And then unconsciously, they did everything they could to bring it back to their set point. So, you could take Dr. Dennis, or Dr. Wentz. What if I could wave a magic wand and instantly put 50 pounds on his frame? What would happen over the next 6 to 9 months? He'd lose all the weight. You see, it would go right back down to a set point. Same thing happens in business. If all of a sudden you recruit a couple of people and your business starts taking off, if you don't change your set point, your business will come right back down to your set point. So what's the answer to this? The answer to this is, if you turn the knob of your set point higher, if you grow, everything in your life will grow along with you. This is the reason why. This is the reason why our great mentor, Mr. Jim Rohn, said, for things to change, you have to change. For things to get better, you have to get better. For things to improve, you have to improve. And when you grow, everything in your life grows along with you. So stop trying to change your money situation. Stop trying to change your health situation. Stop trying to change your relationship situation, and change yourself. And when you change, everything around you changes along with you. So the key is, raise your set point. That's your X factor. That's your X factor. Remember when I told you the centenarian had a one piece of paper, 2/3 filled? That was the first thing on it. To change the world around you, the only thing you have to change is yourself. And the world around you will change. That's your X factor. Let's talk about recruiting now. As a 21st century leader, this is going to be your most important skill. Because remember, it's not financial capital that will be the competitive advantage. It's human capital. The best businesses in the world simply have the best people. If you want the most performing, fastest growing organization in USANA, it'll only come down to, do you have the best people you possibly can get in your organization? So I hear this a lot. Well, I don't know what to say. I want to recruit people, but I don't know what to say. Can you teach me a script? What happens if they say this? How do I handle this objection? All right, let me help you with this. What do you sell here in USANA? You've heard a lot of descriptions about your products and services. If you were to boil it down into a single word or sentence, what do you sell here? Health, freedom, knowledge, lifestyle. Okay. Okay, I'm really glad I came. Because that's not what you sell.
Dreams and vision.
No, this is really good. Let's stop here for a moment and realize that you don't even know what you're selling. Here's what you're selling. You are selling you. You are the only product anybody is seeing. You are the billboard of USANA. You're the product brochure. You're the magazine. You're the advertisement for USANA. As you walk out of the world, the only thing anybody knows about USANA is you. And they're making a determination whether USANA is good, whether it's positive, whether it works, by how they experience you. If you want USANA to have better products, be a better spokesperson. Let me give you an example. Let me tell you the recruiting script of the greatest recruiter in the world. Now this guy, to this day, has the largest organization in the world. The largest organization in the world. Let me give you his recruiting script. Are you ready? Here you go. I want to take notes because let me tell you how to. Here's what he did to recruit. You. Follow me. That's it. That's his recruiting script. Now, I mean, you applaud because it worked, but it's a pretty crappy script. I mean, if you're a copywriter, you're like, nah, that'll never work. What? No features, no benefits, you know? Where's the pre-framing of the objections? There's no tie-downs, there's no Jack Benny close. I mean, I don't understand that. It wasn't what he said. It was who he was. And because of who he was, it was all that he didn't need to say. That needs to be true for you too. It won't be what you say at all. It'll be for who you are, how you show up. You see, as Emerson said, have who you are speak so loud that people don't need to hear a word you say. Have be who you are speak so loud that you don't need to say a word. Who you are behind the words is what makes the words powerful. You see, I have some friends in my life that if they said, you come to China, you, I want you to be on this call, you, I want you to endorse my book, I say, absolutely, no questions asked. I have some other people in my life that if they gave me a grand pitch, they sent me a video, they sent me a magazine, they did a big old presentation, and they said, you follow me, I would say, no way, no how, no where would I follow you. It doesn't have to do with the presentation. It has to do with who they are. So if you want to have more powerful, compelling, persuasive presentations, the best thing to do is become a more powerful, persuasive, and influential human being. And everything else will change around you. Be the message that you bring. You don't attract what you want. You don't say, oh, I really want to get a really motivated person in my business. Or I really want to attract a lot of money. I really want to attract a lot of really great relationships in my life. You don't attract what you want. You only attract who you are. And we communicate with feelings, not words. Even as I gave you the words, it was not the words that he spoke that had power. It was the person who spoke them and how he spoke them. For instance, let's say that there is this cute little house that's backed up off the sidewalk about 30 yards, and then there's a pathway that goes up to the front door, and then the house is surrounded by a big gate. And on the gate is that sign. And it doesn't say beware of dog, it says beware of vicious dog, which is a whole different deal, right, than just beware of dog. And let's say you're a delivery person, and you have to deliver this package to the door and get a signature. Your entire career depends on it. It has to happen. So, you go to the front gate, you see the sign, and you're like, uh-oh. But you have to get this delivered. So you decide to peek your head in to see if the coast is clear. So you open up the gate, you peek your head in, you don't see a dog. So you decide that you're going to venture down the walkway. So you get about halfway up, and the door behind you slams. And out from the left corner of the back of the house, you see the head of a giant dog. And you freeze. And the dog comes charging after you. And you turn around and book it for the gate. And you barely get your ankle out of the gate before it snaps it off. And the door closes, you're safe, but the dog is going crazy behind the gate. And now you're sitting there contemplating your options. How are you possibly going to get this package to the front door? And while you're sitting there thinking about it, you see this cute little 8-year-old little girl with blonde pigtails skipping up the sidewalk, licking on a lollipop. She goes up to the same front gate, and you go, ah. She walks down the walkway, and the dog licks her heels all the way to the front door, wagging his tail. Same vicious dog, same walkway. What was different? When the dog saw you, it sensed fear. Fear means threat, and it went after you. When it saw the little girl, it sensed joy, and it licked her heels up the whole walkway. You see, dogs don't communicate with words. They communicate with feeling. Well, we humans, too, don't really communicate with words as much as we communicate with feelings. And whether you know it or not, we are transmitting our feelings all the time. Have you ever been talking to somebody, and they're talking and talking, and you just know they're lying? You're like, yeah, that sounds like it could be true, but I just know that you're lying. I don't know how I know, I just know that you're lying, right? Same situation. As you're out there prospecting, talking about USANA, the words you use aren't that important. It's how you feel about what it is that you're saying. Because that's the most important thing that's being transmuted through the dialogue. I'll give you another example. You can't convince somebody of something you are not convinced of yourself. You cannot sell something you have not bought wholeheartedly yourself. Why did they have this good man come up here and talk to you about how effective these products and services are? Because they know that if you know deep in your heart and soul how quality and effective these products are, when you go out and start talking about them, that will get transmuted through you. That's why all of this is happening here today. What is the most attractive feeling? What is the one that has the most persuasive power of all? If you're going to work on generating one feeling, which is it? Passion. Passion has the most powerful, persuasive impact as you speak. People can feel whether you are passionate about something or not. And when you are unstoppable. Jim Rohn taught me this. He said, you know those a men's dress shirt, when it first is bought, it has all those little pins in them to keep it together, all those little pins, and you're taking them out, and you're like, oh my God, all these little pins. Well, let's say I took that little straight pin, as it's called. If I take this little straight pin, and I throw it at Dennis, it'll bounce off his cheek. He'll feel it, but not really, right? No big deal. Well, that little straight pin are like words. And that's exactly the effect words are having. You know, these little prick marks on your face. But if I take this little straight pin and then I wire it to an iron bar, and I take this iron bar, now I can take it and I can drive it through his heart. The iron bar is the emotion you put behind the words. And it's the emotion that will have the impact, not the words. Does that make sense? Let's say, I don't like to sell. I know I joined direct selling, but I don't like to sell. Okay, that's good. Don't sell. Stop it. Stop selling. Seriously, stop selling. I want you to take this four-letter word, sell, and I want you to turn it into another four-letter word, and that is help. Stop selling. Start helping. Who can you help? How can you help somebody's financial future? How can you help somebody's health? How can you help somebody feel better? How can you help somebody provide for their children or for their family? Stop selling and look for ways in which you can help. You see, the feeling put behind how to help somebody versus the feeling put behind how to sell somebody are very different. And if you go out there with the intention to sell, people will feel that and you will repel people. If you go out there with the intention to help, people will feel that and they'll be attracted to you. I know that it seems like a very minor shift, but it's a major difference in terms of your outcome. if all you do is go out there in the world and just listen to what people say, what they say they want, what troubles or pains they've got, and if you could be there to help them, the world will beat a path to your door because everybody wants and needs help. Nobody wants or needs to be sold. Very, very different. And then also, focus on what you can do for them versus what they can do for you, and they will do almost anything for you. As our good friend Zig Ziglar said, you can have everything you want in life if you just help enough other people get what they want. I know you've heard it before. You've probably written it down in your notes before. You've taken the picture of that slide before. But if you literally go out into the marketplace with that true, sincere intention in your heart, I just want to help as many people as I can, you'll get everything you've ever wanted in life. That's simple. And I want you to turn get. What can I get? What can I accomplish? What can I get to what it is that I can give? What do you need? What do you want to get? Do you want to get hope? Go out and provide hope for somebody else. Do you want courage? Do you need more courage? Let me give you the best way to get more courage. Help encourage somebody else. You want more love? You want more love in your life? Here's the best way to go get it. Go give somebody some love. Whatever it is that you want, write down a list of things that you want. Now what I'm going to tell you is go out and give it. And if you give it, it'll come back to you 3, 4, 5, 10-fold. Give what you want, and you'll get what you want. And then I want you to turn communicate into connect. Because see, in the social media world, where we're communicating all the time, we're just spewing stuff out there just at random and broadcast. And that's okay some of the time. But you're not going to become wealthy communicating. You're only going to become wealthy connecting. Because we're still human beings. We're not technology platforms. We're not social media. We're human beings. And human beings need to connect face-to-face, heart-to-heart. It only takes a dozen or two key relationships in your life to make you as fantastically successful as you've ever desired. When I ask people like Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Richard Branson, or Oprah Winfrey, how many relationships have really mattered to making them the success they are today, and they all say about a dozen. The thing for you to figure out is, what are your dozen most important relationships professionally? And then don't communicate with them, connect with them. Face-to-face, heart-to-heart. And then I hear this all the time, I don't know the right people. I don't know. My warm market, I don't know successful people. All right, let me show you how to solve that problem as well. This is what I call the art of networking. You are in the networking business. Let me teach you the art of networking right now. Understand that everybody you recruit, your front line is just the doorway to the rest of the world. But you got to learn how to open the door and go through it. How to convert 3s into 10s. See, when I got started in this business, I was 18 years old. I didn't know any 10s. I didn't know any 8s. I didn't know any 5s. All I knew were people who were at level 3. But I still built an organization of 100,000 people. How? Not with 3s, I'll tell you that, but I learned how to network, and let me teach it to you now. So let's say that you do recruit a 3, and I'm not talking a 3 on an economic scale. I'm talking about a 3 on the list of 12 attributes that you wrote down. They're a 3 in driven, committed, loyal, integral, whatever it is that you wrote down as your top 12, they're a 3 on that scale. So let's say you recruit a 3. You are not going to build an organization like you need on 3s. But you get them started, and you help them go out and start recruiting. And they recruit a 3, a 2, and a 4. Okay, you got a 4. Now you, as the leader, have to go directly work with the 4. Don't let the 3 work with the 4, or they'll run them out of the business. So you go and work directly with the 4. You get the 4 started, they start recruiting, they recruit a 3, a 4, a 5. Hey, you got a 5. Now, you are not going to build a large organization in USANA on a 5. But you've got a new doorway. So you help that 5 go out and start recruiting. The 5 brings you a 5, a 6, and every once in a while, luck has it, a 5 can get you a 7. But don't let the 5 or the 4 or the 3 work with the 7. You go down and say, hey, 5, 4, and 3, I'll take care of it. You watch, learn, observe. Let me show you how to work with this person. They'll become successful and everybody will win. But you've got to take personal responsibility for going down and working with the 7. Now you get the 7 started, the recruit, a 7, an 8, an 8. Now you've got an 8. An 8's not enough. You need a 10. So you go down and work with the 8. The 8 starts recruiting. You get an 8, a 7, a 9, a 9. You're almost there, but you need 10s. If you're going to go to the Super Bowl, if you're going to win the World Cup, I'm trying to translate what sport's going to matter here, right? You need a star, a 10. So what happens is, don't let the 4, the 5, the 7, or the 8 work with the 9. You've got to go all the way down there and work directly with the 9. And help them get started, and all of a sudden, they recruit a 9, a 9, a 10. You've got a 10. And for you, that is the front line person for you and your organization. Now, they're not literally front line, but in your mind, they're front line. And if you work with them and cultivate them and grow them, they'll become successful, and so will everybody else above them. But what you can't do is leave it to everybody else to make sure that this 10 is locked in, cultivated, and developed. You see, it doesn't matter where you start. It only matters that you do. And when you recruit somebody, walk through the door. See who they know. Recruit somebody else. Walk through the door. And if you do that, if you just do that 3, 4 times in your whole career at USANA, you will get wealthy. That's it. That's all you got to do. That's simple. It's not that difficult. What's difficult is staying focused, knowing what attributes you want, growing yourself to become a 10 on those 12 attributes. Then, looking to find another 10 somewhere down the line who's a 10 on all 12 of those attributes. And once you got them in the business, get out of their way and go find yourself another. That's all you got to do. That's the equation of being successful. This is Dave Ogilvy, who was a famous advertising executive, who said, if each of us recruits people who are smaller than we are, we shall become a company of dwarfs. If each of us recruit people who are bigger than we are, we shall become a company of giants. You have to recruit people who are better than you. So, let's wrap up this piece of paper here. You have your 12 attributes. You go to work on becoming a 10 on each of the 12, and then take your top 5 leaders and assess where they are on all those 12 attributes as well. Now you have a roadmap about how to personally develop them so that they can be more effective when they go out there to try to attract other 10s in those attributes. Simple as that. Now there's an old Chinese proverb that's 5,000 years old that sums up the responsibility of leadership well. It says, to serve is to rule. Not to control is to rule. Not to dictate is to rule. To serve is to rule. The more you serve, the more you rule. He who wishes to be great, let him find a way to serve the many. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to measure yourself not by your rank advancement. Not by your rank advancement. Not by your success at all. I'll give you for instance, okay, so a guy just signs up in a new organization, okay, and he meets with his upline. and comes over to his office, and the upline takes this big picture book and puts it on the desk there. And he opens it up to the front page, and on this front page is this big mansion. He says, you see this big house? It's 10,000 square feet. Marble floors, Venetian plaster throughout the house, millions of dollars of paintings on all the walls. He said, out over here in the back 40 is a private vineyard. It makes the most exquisite Pinot Grigio. And over here in the other back 40 is a private executive golf course. 9 holes, lush grass. And on the driveway here, you see all these exotic cars, Lamborghinis and Ferraris and Rolls Royces and classic collections, all through the driveway in a 12-car garage. He says, you see all this? If you work really hard, you get up early, you work late, you prospect day in and day out, one day all of this will be mine. And that's the way most people feel about their leaders. They want their people to work really hard to accomplish their dreams and their goals. I no longer want that to be your message, and I no longer want that to be your measurement. Don't measure your success based on your rank advancement. Now, both Dennis and I are big proponents in goal setting. So instead of your goal being, this is the rank I want to achieve, this is the money I want to make, don't write that down. Here's what I want you to write down instead. I'm going to help Sally make it to this level. I'm going to help Bob get to this rank level. I'm going to help Tony earn this much money. I'm going to help Betty fund her children's college fund. I'm going to help Anthony retire his parents financially. When you start measuring your success based on the success of those you serve, that's when you become a powerful, influential 21st century leader. So, don't measure yourself by your rank advancement. Don't measure yourself by your commission check, but by the commission check of your people. And don't measure yourself by whether you accomplish your dreams. Measure yourself by whether you help those people you serve accomplish theirs. And trust me, just as Zig Ziglar promised, if you help enough other people get what they want, you'll get everything you want in life. Because in the end, your success is dependent on their success anyway. You might as well focus on their success if that's the equation. And in the end, I need you to understand that leadership is a privilege. It's something that you earn. It's not a title on your business card. You don't wake up one morning and you just declare yourself a leader. It is a privilege that you earn with the intention to serve, to better, and to encourage greatness out of others. It is also a responsibility. Every day you get up, feel the weight of responsibility, which means that you are always on stage. You are always being watched. You are always modeling the behavior that will ripple around you. Understand that there's an incredible responsibility. Other people's lives, other people's futures are at stake. When they watch you, they are becoming what they watch. That's a responsibility. Ultimately, remember, as we started, this is the USANA success equation. If you go about improving you instill the X factor, you raise your personal growth set point, that will help you be a more powerful, influential leader. If you become a 21st century leader, you can grow and develop a large organization in USANA. And we all know, based on how the generous compensation plan is structured in USANA, you grow a large, productive organization, and all the money, all the success, all the titles, all the accolades, all the dreams that you've ever wanted are true for you. I wish you great success. Thank you all very much.